Doesn't matter if you're an Indian or if you're a Warhawk.
The ULM mention is the greatest. You'd hope for the best as a ULM fan, but
this is the Bleav in the Warhawks podcast with hosts Dusty Thibodeau and Chase Regent.
Chase, you always have such great insight.
Gibbs is going to bleep it all.
What are these guys always talking about?
We talk a lot about food on this podcast, and I'm going to continue to do so.
Really, really appreciative of the people and the community and the way that they've backed us up.
Nailed the introduction, by the way. Awesome.
Thanks,
I love
Fish.
it. It's the eve of college basketball season. And for the first time in 15 years, there's a new guy on the sideline. But we go back in time. We get the All-American point guard that led the Warhawks for 15 years, head coach Keith Richard. Coach, you look so much better. I mean, is it that much of a relief that you're not sitting in DeKalb, Illinois tonight?
Well, I had somebody tell me just the other day, gosh, you don't even look like the same person. And, it is after doing it for 40 years and being a head coach for 24. And then, as you mentioned, the last 15 here at ULM. And, there is a breath of fresh air, so to speak, that kind of comes over you. And, you're not worrying about the next practice, the next game, the next recruit coming in, just on and on and on. And it has been refreshing in that respect. And, it's not to say that, especially right now with the season about to crank up tomorrow, that, I don't miss it some. And but I certainly feel good about, kind of letting it all go and being done with it.
Was it hard to break out of coach mode, though? Like, did you have a practice schedule for your wife and she just kind of looked at you like you were absolutely crazy?
What's been tough is that, and this is probably true for a lot of people that retire, you're so used to doing something, being busy doing something for so long. And in the coaching world, there's always something every day, even besides the season itself. Out of season, there's always stuff going on that you got to take care of every day, and you're busy. And what I had to get used to since March, and it wasn't so much the first 3 or 4 months, but the last couple of months, is that what I have had to kind of get used to is that it's okay not to be busy. In my mind, I've had to talk to myself. It's okay. It's okay, Keith, if you take a nap this afternoon. I ain't never take naps. I'm not a nap guy. I had to talk myself into it. So, and that's especially probably with the start of the season coming up, and the schools practice and that kind of thing hit me a little bit, but it didn't last very long. I moved on from it, but and that's probably no different, Dusty, than a lot of people in retirement, regardless of the profession.
When you came back to the Bayou, though, you came back at a time that was really dark. We were facing, I think, the second worst APR sanctions and everything else. Do you kind of look back at that moment, though, and kind of bask in what you were able to rebuild to get us from that low point to where we are today?
Well, the one thing when I came back in 2010, and I knew then, and I told Holly I was at LSU with Trent Johnson down there, and I said, Holly, if we go back to Monroe, this is where we're going to land. This going to be it. Now we're going to go there. We're going to be there a long time, as long as they'll have me. And are you good with that? And she was. And I didn't know about this APR sanctions and probation. The president that hired me, he actually told me, it wasn't Dr. Bruno. And he told me that morning, he leaned over and whispered in my ear, and he said, Keith, listen, we got a few academic problems I need you to take care of. I thought he was talking about missing class. Oh, look, don't worry about that. I'll take care of that now. We'll get on that tomorrow. And little did we know what was coming down the pipe. And the real story about those people don't remember, a lot of people don't remember maybe, but the real story was the NCAA was really mad at us. They were mad at ULM because they had given the school a break 4 or 5 years before that. A pass. Okay, we're not going to punish you now. Get your ship in order, basically. And so 4 or 5 years later, our ship's not in order. It's kind of the same old, academically speaking. And we go back, Dr. Bruno, myself, and all the academic people at the time, and I remember Dr. Bruno. It was about 20 committee members, and many of them had been on the first go round, and ULM's name's back up again, and Dr. Bruno got up there and gave his speech, and I got up there and gave my speech, and then the guy got up there, the head of the committee, and he said, "Well, Dr. Bruno, you're a first year president. Sounds like you got a great plan for, academics, for the athletic program, in particular men's basketball. I'm sure you're going to do a good job, but we're going to hammer the shit out of you. Mr. Coach Keith Richard, sounds like you're going to do a hell of a job there. Glad you're back home. Look forward to watching you rebuild this program, but we're going to hammer the shit out of you." And they didn't say that actually, but they meant it, and
I'm sure he did actually.
they hammered us. It was all for nothing, really and truly. So we had to restructure everything academically. We had to enhance our academic standards, more so than what the NCAA, minimum requirements were. It was a mess, but we had to go through it to get out of it. They took away, they watched us closely. We had to report to them. They took away practice time. They took away some games. They took away some scholarships through the years. It was a 4-year process. The last punishment or whatever they gave us, it wasn't over to the end of the 4th year. And in the middle was the worst, the 2nd and 3rd year of what they put on us. And so the one thing I will say about all that was, I did not want on my watch, nobody wants their school, their team. It's where I went to school. I mean, I got 2 degrees from there. In my family, we got 7 or 8 between all of us, and I didn't want that on, regardless of what would happen, winning and losing. I didn't want that part on my tenure. And we did come out of it. And we've never been on probation again, graduated, tons and tons. I've lost count of the number, over those 15 years, and a lot of help from all the academic counselors, but also a real understanding about how APR really worked, back in those days, and we really paying attention to it, and which is part of the game as well, and numerous job by a lot of people. I didn't want that on my watch. I was really proud when we came out of it at the end of the 4th year, and they kind of released us, and then we went back down to normal academic standards as far as recruiting players. And that was after the 4th year. And I had just hired a guy named Ryan Cross who came with me, who had been with me previously, and really great recruiter. And I told him, okay, we're released. Let's go get us some guys. And that we did. And so really, those 15 years were kind of in 3 parts. The first part was the APR stuff, exactly what you're talking about. And yes, I was very proud of, leading our school out of that.
Yeah, as soon as you got out of it, it was great. That was the CBI Yeah, it
We
was the
took off.
CBI runner-up year.
Yeah, really over the next 5 years, we went to postseason play 4 times. We went to a bowl game 4 times. Now they weren't the big postseason play. They weren't the NCAA or the NIT, but they were still postseason play from where we had come from, which was a huge deal at the time. And at the time, there wasn't any other sport winning in the athletic department at all at that time. And so it was a big thing. I tell people all the time, I used to tell them that, you know, if Bryant Vincent goes to a bowl game, if he goes to the worst bowl game in the country, the last place bowl game, whichever one that is, the least money, the farthest place, the worst destination, we're gonna build a statue in Monroe. We're gonna put it up downtown. Well, I did that 4 times in them little bitty bowls. We did it 4 times, and we kind of had something going there. We really did, and that was kind of in the middle. The next 5 years, the middle part of my tenure there. And then the last part, the last third, obviously wasn't as good. Times changed, times changed. We struggled to keep up with it. Transfer portal started happening. Mental health started happening out there. And then at the end, NIL started happening. Really kind of all that kind of combined. The first guy that we were doing fine, and then we lost our really first transfer portal guy, which was Mike Ertl. We lost him. And that kind of, from that point forward, boy, it was tough to keep up player-wise. We'd have a good player or two in each and every season, but not as overall as good of players as we had during that 5-year stretch. And so, we fought the good fight and the last third of my tenure there. And so it was a little bittersweet not having gone out on, everybody wants to retire winning the last game in the national championship. And that wasn't going to be my case. But it still doesn't deter me from having good memories and good thoughts about my tenure, at ULM. And we love Monroe. We always have. Holly and I, we met in college here, and I'm retired here, and happy to be here, and looking forward to supporting the athletic program. I've been to the football games, and looking forward to watching Phil play and the men's team and the women's, and I'll continue to support the university and the athletic department.
I know Paul Millsaps at Louisiana Tech, probably the greatest player you coached. Who was your shining star in your ULM tenure, other than some walk-on from Sterlington that had the last name Richards or something like that?
I saw we shot a couple of hoops this weekend. He still got a good shot. I said, Lance, boy, you holding on good. Well, obviously Majuk Deng was a major player for us for 2 years. I mean, he had a great 2 years for us, and we won a lot of games during those 2 years. So you'd probably have to say him first. And he went on, and he's having a phenomenal professional career in Australia. He was on the Olympic team with the South Sudan team, played the USA. I mean, he's had a crazy, unbelievably good basketball career. And I'll tell you about Majuk. He deserves every bit of it. He was in that gym 3 times a day, every day. I'd get there in the morning at 6:30. I'd hear the ball bounce. It was him. We'd practice. He'd be the first to practice, the last in the league. Campus police would call me at night. Coach, can you get Majuk out of the gym? It's 11:30. We're trying to go home. I mean, he earned everything, every little bit of it. And he was a special player here. And then there was a couple of guys, Dusty, Nick Coppola, 4-year starter here, leading assist guy in the history of our school, leading minutes played guy, love old Nick, and he was a big part of those 4 years. And then Justin Robertson was here and had a really good. God, I just give a right arm for another Justin Robertson the last couple of years, and he's had a great overseas career. He's in Dubai now. He's playing in Dubai, and he's in Russia for a long time, and he's done really, really well. Travis Munnings, how about him? Travis Munnings, probably the last time you're going to see a 4-year good player like that, from the Bahamas. He's still playing overseas. Had Deshaun Smith 1 year, had him one, and he had a great 1 year here, and so we had some good players during that 5-year or so run, and really, when I think back, Tyler Angwa kind of got it started for us. He had a really good 2 years here. But, Majuk senior year was, we were really good, and he was really good, and probably him.
Tyler, I know you were probably trying to feed him everything you could to get him to get some weight, but every time I would talk to him post-game, coach, he would be like, here, you need this more than me, here, and giving me his post-game meal all the time. And so I definitely have a lot of fond memories of that run there as well.
Yeah. Tyler Angwa was maybe the greatest human being put on earth. I mean, he's that good of a young man, and he's had an outstanding overseas career too, so I credit Ryan Cross a lot for once I got Ryan in here, our recruiting took off, and he was responsible for getting all those guys. He really was, and hated to see him go, but he's done real well at UAB, and they've had a lot of success over the last 5 years, and most of those guys are his. And so that's the way it goes.
So being a D1 coach, it's definitely the fraternity. Do you still kind of keep up with your peers or some guys that you went head to head with and still just kind of tell, I guess now, literal fish stories as y'all are out fishing?
It's funny you mentioned that. On the way back from Houston today, you were driving to Houston. I was coming back. Trent Johnson called me. And I worked for Trent, at LSU for 2 years. I also competed against him when he was at Nevada and I was at Louisiana Tech. We were in the same league in the WAC. And we had some wars. This is before he got the Stanford job. Real wars. And that's how I got to know Trent, through playing against him. And we weren't big friends. We were just kind of mutual admirers of each other, the way our teams played type thing. And then I got to go work for him at LSU for those 2 years. He called me today. And so, yes, I don't have a ton of guys, but I do got a handful that I stay in touch with. Call me, I call them. Had a great conversation with Trent this morning and talked about a bunch of stuff. And I stay in touch with, Bleav it or not, John Brady stays in touch a lot. I mean, that's always colorful. And to have Shady Brady and talk to him, and Jim Woolridge, who I work for at Louisiana Tech, I stay in touch with him. He's in Dallas, retired. All of us are retired now, my crew, so to speak, and all the guys that I kind of came up with and either worked for or coached against. A lot of us are retired, and Jim Woolridge is one I talk to pretty often. Obviously, Coach Vining, because he's here in town, and I kind of keep up with the current. Let's see who else. Somebody else will call every now and then out the blue. I stay in touch with Coach Cross some, and he keeps me up to date with kind of today's world of college basketball, which is usually lengthy conversations, and I've been able to talk to Phil Cunningham a good bit, and that type thing. So I got a few guys. Phil Johnson, a guy that worked for Tim Floyd for a long time. He was a close friend of mine. He was actually the head coach of San Jose back in the day, and I was with him with the Bulls and USC and UTEP. And so it's always good to hear and talk. We don't do it every day, but it's good to get that dose of it. And it was great talking to Trent today. and because he's kind of in the same boat. He's been out 2 or 3 years now. He was wondering, was I missing it here? And that kind of thing. And I mentioned to him about taking a nap. He said, "Oh, you'll be taking 2 or 3 before long. Don't worry." I said, "I don't know about that, but anyway." So yeah, I talked to a few guys.
What was kind of your passing the torch word, so to say, to Phil as he took over the program for this year?
Well, I've known Phil a long time, not close, but I've known him because he's been in the business a long time, and I have too. And plus he was in the league at Troy, so I knew him from that as well. And and the way that kind of came about was really John. I had an assistant leave during the summer last summer. Now I knew I was going to retire already, and so did John. And I said, "Man, who can I hire? Who am I going to hire? Because I'm going to have to tell them this is only going to be to the end of the season, And so at that point, you start thinking about maybe somebody retired, come back, because you want to tell them the truth, And there was actually a guy or two out there retired that I talked to about coming to do it, and they didn't want to come out of retirement, even if it was just for 7, 8 months, however long it was going to be, to the end of the season. And John Hartwell actually mentioned Phil to me because he knew Phil was out. And I said, well, let me try these other guys first. And he knew he stayed in touch from Phil from time to time, hadn't talked to him lately. And so it just kind of ended up that I called him back, about a month later, Hartwell, and I said, John, go ahead and give me Phil's number. I said, I struck out on these other guys that they want to stay retired and blah, blah, blah. And so I called Phil, and it kind of started from there. And, we got him in here and in August, I think it was. And right away, he was able to sign a player for us. We were looking for a stretch 4 real late. And Raynor Sondors, who's still with the team right now, foreign player. Phil got him took about 2 or 3 weeks and got him in here. And the thing, and then so I had the whole season with him, and of course he knew that he was going to be trying to get the job and being here, and I knew it, but it wasn't a done deal, and it wasn't oh, he's in there, he's going to get the job. It was well, let's see how all this goes, and so I got to really know Phil throughout the last season, and I tell you, I really like him, Dusty. He's first of all, he's a basketball junkie,
That's an understatement.
Yes, I mean he's a junkie. He's not married. He thinks about it and works on it all day long. I think he works out a little bit. He likes to work out early in the morning, get that out the way, and after that it's basketball. And so that was a good to see. And the other thing that I got to know Phil about, he's a real positive guy. He's a positive person. He's a positive coach. It's just who he is and the way he goes about it, which I think is going to be really good for him with this particular team. And so I was glad to see he got it. I vouched for him with John at the end there when I needed to. And, I think he's a good guy to take over our program moving forward. I really do.
Coach, we need an athletic director, and you've done it before. Would you ever consider coming back to the Bayou for that?
No. I'm retired. I like going to Darbone and fishing about twice a week. And they'll figure all that out. They will. And the only thing about all that is what I do hope is that we can finally maybe get some stability in that position. Now you think about it. You mentioned me 2010. You want to count how many ADs we've had, counting the interims since 2010? Oof. Yeah. I mean, it's almost at 10, I think it's 8 or 9. That's a lot. You just to have that much turnover in the lead spot in our athletic department. That's not a good situation to happen. And I was really kind of hoping with John that would happen, that we would see some stability there. And, for whatever reason, it didn't work out that way. And here we go again, and now Coach Vincent's the interim. And I don't know if he'll want to continue to do it or not, or, I don't keep up with it like that. And so I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever does happen, because I'm going to be here, and I got my house here in town. I got my place up at Darbone, and I ain't going anywhere. And I want to go to the games and be supportive and all that. And I hope we can finally get some stability in that position. I think that would really help our athletic department.
Last thing I got for you, Coach, we always have story time of a good story from the road. We had Scotty Mack on in a previous episode talking about dealing with a women's basketball bus catching on fire and all kind of things. I know you got some good stories from the road, so tell us what you can that the limitations have ran out on.
Well, I can't tell some of them, Dusty. I mean, some of them are a little rough, but that's one thing. I will say this on the flip side of that question. That's one thing that I'm really excited about retiring is that, yes, I'm going to miss I'm going to miss some practices and I always enjoyed practice and really enjoyed the games, and coaching in the games and trying to get the team better throughout a year. I enjoyed all that part. What I'm not going to miss, I know this, is the travel. This year for the first time in probably 40 years, I don't have to travel from November to March, and the stories of, the travel stories that are out that are over 40 years is numerous of them. I'll tell you the greatest travel story I ever had was I was at LSU. We were on ESPN one night at South Carolina. It was a TV game. And I was home and I tucked my kids in bed and back in Baton Rouge before they went to sleep, talking about chartering. You understand? It was unbelievable. We chartered there, played that game, chartered back, and I tucked my kids in before they went to sleep. Now, that was nice traveling right there. Really nice traveling. And, of course, we didn't get a lot of that at ULM. And so I'm not going to miss the day-to-day grind of, all that travel. And even though I'll watch them on TV while they're on the road.
Coach, I can't thank you enough. It's always great and an adventure talking to you. Can't wait to see you again and catch up even more.
Okay, man. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.